People say a camera can't lie, but some photographs leave even experts struggling for an explanation. In an age when altering an image takes seconds, a handful of pictures still refuse to be explained away. From unsettling masks to strange events caught on film, these images raise far more questions than they answer. The Nazca Lines are enormous drawings carved into the desert ground in Peru by the ancient Nazca people, and they have puzzled onlookers for hundreds of years. From ground level, they look like nothing more than scratches in the dirt, but from above, they reveal giant depictions of animals, plants, and geometric shapes. What makes this so strange is that the Nazca lived nearly 2,000 years ago, yet they built these enormous designs in a way that can only be properly appreciated from the sky, a vantage point they had no way of reaching. To this day, scientists cannot say for certain why or how the Nazca pulled this off. Some theories point to religious or astronomical purposes, suggesting the lines worked as a kind of observatory or as a map pointing toward sources of water. Other researchers think the lines were tied to rituals meant to call down rain. None of these explanations fully account for how the lines were laid out with such accuracy across such enormous distances, or why the Nazca chose the particular symbols they did. There are even those who speculate the lines once served as landing markers for visitors from another world, or functioned as a giant astronomical calendar. During the 1960s, a woman named Nina Kulagina drew attention across the Soviet Union because of her supposed telekinetic gifts. Placed under tightly controlled laboratory conditions, she seemed able to move objects and interfere with equipment using nothing but her mind. Researchers at the USSR Academy of Sciences studied her closely and recorded her demonstrations on film that was kept secret for years. Because of Cold War secrecy, her abilities never made her a household name outside the Soviet Union, but they left a strong impression on everyone who witnessed them and challenged accepted scientific thinking. Doubters insisted she relied on sleight of hand, yet nobody ever managed to duplicate what she did. Some wondered whether her gifts hinted at hidden potential within human consciousness that science had yet to uncover, and she remains a figure that continues to intrigue people today. Buried within the jungles of Costa Rica lie the puzzling stone spheres, more than 300 of them scattered close to the Decoded River. Their sizes range from stones small enough to hold in one hand to massive boulders wider than 2 meters across, and they have kept scientists intrigued for years. What confuses researchers most is figuring out how ancient craftsmen managed to shape these spheres with such precision, since they were carved from granodiorite, a rock so tough that it resists breaking or carving, which only deepens the mystery. The Antikythera mechanism, pulled from a shipwreck near the Greek island of Antikythera in 1900, is often described as the earliest known analog computer. Believed to date back to roughly the 2nd century BCE, this intricate device, built from gears and covered in inscriptions, points to a surprisingly advanced grasp of astronomy for its era. It was capable of predicting eclipses and tracking the movement of celestial bodies, hinting at a level of technology nobody expected from that period in history. Even after extensive study, researchers still haven't mapped out everything the device could do, which leaves the Antikythera mechanism standing as a striking reminder of just how sophisticated ancient technology could be. A photograph from 1887 shows the Eiffel Tower midway through construction, built for the Paris Exposition. The tower went up in a little over 2 years, an extraordinary engineering achievement for its time. Once finished in 1889, it became the tallest structure ever built by human hands, a title it held on to until 1930. It was pieced together from 18,000 separate metal parts, fastened using 2.5 million rivets, every single one put in place by hand. Even now, engineers marvel at how it was designed and assembled. This image freezes the early moments of what would grow into one of the world's most recognized landmarks, a structure cherished by people everywhere. Among archaeology's strangest finds are the Ubaid lizard figurines. Unearthed at the ancient site of Ubaid in Iraq, these clay figures date back to around 4,500 BCE, long before the Sumerians. What sets them apart is their strange blend of human and reptilian traits: stretched out heads, almond-shaped eyes, and skin textured like scales. Some figurines even depict these lizard-like beings engaged in ordinary activities, tending to infants or gripping staffs, details that might hint at some kind of authority or leadership. During the 1990s, a tourist exploring a cave in Ras Al Khaimah in the United Arab Emirates took a photograph that left more than a few people uneasy. The picture appears to show some kind of unusual creature, mostly swallowed by shadow. Shortly after the photograph was taken, the group is said to have heard a boy's scream echoing from somewhere deep inside the cave. When authorities arrived and searched the area, they found a body tucked away in a hidden recess of the cave. Exactly what the creature in the photo was and how it connects to the body that was found has never been resolved. Some think the image might point to a species science has yet to identify, while others suspect it's nothing more than a trick of shadow or a staged photograph. Whatever the explanation, the unsettling story keeps people wondering what might be hiding in the parts of the world we haven't fully explored. The Dyatlov Pass incident ranks among the most disturbing unsolved cases of the 20th century. In 1959, 9 seasoned hikers died under bizarre and unexplained conditions while trekking through Russia's Ural Mountains. Adding another layer of unease, photographs recovered from their cameras only deepen the puzzle. One frame shows a blurred shape standing among the trees, an image many now refer to simply as the Yeti shot. In 1975, Diane and Peter Berthelot stopped by Worsted Church in Norfolk, England, planning to photograph the inside of the building. Once the film came back developed, a pale, unexplained figure showed up in one of the pews. Many took it to be the ghost known as the White Lady, a spirit long connected to the church, which traces its history back to the 12th century. The Berthelots maintained that the church had been empty when the picture was taken, and the vicar backed up their account, confirming there was no trickery involved. Photography specialists who examined the image found nothing suggesting it had been altered either. Some skeptics argue the figure could be explained by a reflection of light or someone standing just outside the frame. But many still regard this photograph as one of the strongest pieces of evidence ever offered for a ghostly presence. It continues to draw the interest of paranormal researchers and enthusiasts alike. One of the most discussed pieces of evidence for cryptids is the Patterson-Gimlin film, shot in 1967 in Northern California. Roger Patterson and Bob Gimlin filmed a large, hair-covered creature crossing a clearing. Footage, some say, shows Bigfoot itself. The film has been picked apart endlessly, yet the argument over whether it's genuine never seems to end. Doubters think it shows someone wearing a costume, while believers argue that the creature's movement and build look more like an unknown primate than any person could pull off. Hoax or genuine discovery, the Patterson-Gimlin film still stirs excitement and speculation about creatures that might still be roaming places we haven't fully explored. During the 1971 Apollo 14 mission, NASA released photographs showing odd points of light along the lunar horizon. These glowing lights seemed to shift position between shots, leaving many puzzled. Astronauts Alan Shepard and Edgar Mitchell both said they had seen the lights from a considerable distance, which ruled out the possibility that they were simply reflections off the camera lens. Various explanations have been proposed. sunlight bouncing off lunar minerals, static electricity discharges, or gases escaping from beneath the surface. None of these ideas, though, fully explain the light's sharp edges, fixed positions, or the way their appearance kept changing. The Apollo 14 lunar lights remain one of the more puzzling, unresolved mysteries to come out of space exploration, and they still spark curiosity and debate. Out in Namibia's Namib Desert sits a strange phenomenon that keeps both scientists and travelers intrigued: the fairy circles. These are round patches of bare ground surrounded by grass, forming a honeycomb-like pattern when viewed from above. The circles differ in size, some only a few meters wide, others stretching much farther, and they show up across huge stretches of the country. Local legend holds that the circles were made by gods, or that they mark divine footprints, but scientists lean toward other explanations. Some point to termites, competition among plants, leaking gas, or even radioactivity as possible causes. On the 13th of March, 1997, the Phoenix Lights turned into one of the most talked about UFO sightings on record. That evening, thousands of people scattered across Arizona watched a huge, silent object drifting slowly across the night sky. Some described a massive saucer shape, while others said it looked more like a V-shaped formation, dotted with bright lights. The object traveled for miles before it vanished. The event drew heavy media coverage, and even Arizona's governor at the time, Fife Symington, admitted to seeing it himself. Symington later criticized the federal government for brushing the incident aside instead of investigating it seriously. The U.S. Air Force said the lights were nothing more than flares dropped during a training exercise, but plenty of witnesses reject that explanation, insisting it doesn't match what they saw with their own eyes. The map, drawn by Ottoman admiral and cartographer Piri Reis in 1513, has puzzled historians and scientists ever since it came to light. It shows sections of Europe, North Africa, the Atlantic Ocean, and the Americas, along with a startlingly detailed rendering of Antarctica. What makes this especially strange is how precisely it captures the Americas, South America in particular, at a time when European understanding of the New World was still in its early stages. Even stranger is how the map shows Antarctica free of ice, a condition believed to have existed only around 6,000 years earlier, long before Piri Reis ever put pen to parchment. How could he have possibly known that? Some suggest the map drew on older sources that no longer survive, perhaps originating with a lost civilization skilled in cartography. Others think the details came from educated guesswork or simple misreadings of older maps. The Babushka Lady is a mysterious figure connected to the assassination of President John F. Kennedy in 1963. She turns up in several photographs taken near Dealey Plaza, both before and after the shooting, apparently filming the motorcade while wearing a headscarf in a style common among Russian women. Many believe she may have recorded footage that could shed real light on what happened that day. Yet despite appearing so clearly in other people's photos, her identity has never been confirmed, and no film from her own camera has ever turned up. Her disappearance, together with the footage that was never found, keeps fueling conspiracy theories and speculation surrounding the assassination. The Voynich manuscript stands as one of history's great unsolved puzzles. Wilfrid Voynich, a Polish-Lithuanian book dealer, came across it in 1912. This 15th-century book is packed with odd illustrations and text written in a language nobody has managed to identify. Its pages show peculiar drawings of plants, charts of the stars, and unusual pharmaceutical mixtures. Several of the plants pictured don't match any species known to science, and the star charts don't line up with anything modern astronomers recognize. Over time, people have guessed at everything from a medical handbook to an alchemical text to a purely fictional creation. Despite endless attempts to crack its code, nobody has managed to translate the writing or fully make sense of the pictures. The Voynich manuscript keeps drawing people in, pulling them into a puzzle full of secrets and unanswered questions. In 1925, the crew aboard the SS Watertown had an unsettling experience while sailing through the Panama Canal. Two crew members, who had died earlier that year after being overcome by gas fumes while cleaning a cargo tank, appeared to show up again, this time as ghostly faces rising from the water. The faces of the two dead men seemed to surface and stare back at the crew. Keith Tracy, another member of the crew, managed to photograph the eerie sight, and the image quickly drew national attention. The Christian Science Monitor looked into the photograph and confirmed it hadn't been altered or tampered with in any way. Some took this as proof that the men's spirits had returned, while others argued it was simply an optical illusion or a trick of light on water. The so-called Billy the Kid croquet photograph is one of the most argued-over images in American history. Bought for a mere $2 in 2010 from a memorabilia shop, this tin-type photograph reportedly shows Billy the Kid, along with his gang, the Regulators, playing a game of croquet. If it turns out to be genuine, it would only be the second confirmed photograph of the famous outlaw ever found, and could be worth millions of dollars. Its authenticity, though, is still up for debate. Facial recognition software has pointed to a possible match between the man in the photo and Billy the Kid, but some historians remain unconvinced. The strongest objection centers on the scene itself. A friendly game of croquet seems completely out of step with the rough, lawless life Billy the Kid was known for, far removed from the world of polite leisure activities. A family photograph from the 1950s, taken by the Coopers, became well known because of a ghostly shape that seems to hover just behind them. The picture shows a family of four smiling for the camera, with a dark, blurred form suspended in the air right behind them. The family insisted nobody else had been present when the photo was snapped. Paranormal investigators treated it as compelling evidence of an apparition, while skeptics offered other explanations: a doll, an acrobat caught mid-motion, or simply the result of a double exposure. Where the figure actually came from has never been settled, which keeps the photo popular among ghost enthusiasts and a genuine puzzle for skeptics. The ocean holds plenty of mysteries of its own, and among the strangest is the Hook Island sea monster. In 1964, a man named Robert Le Sirec took a photograph while on holiday in Australia that appears to show an enormous creature, shaped something like a giant tadpole, resting in the shallow water of Stonehaven Bay off Hook Island. The creature, thought to measure somewhere between 20 and 25 meters long, shows a clearly defined head, visible eyes, and a long, winding body. Some think it could be a surviving prehistoric animal, perhaps a plesiosaur, or maybe an unknown giant species of eel or ray. Others believe it was staged, possibly a sheet of plastic weighted down to resemble a sea creature. Skepticism aside, the photograph has stuck in people's imaginations, making the Hook Island sea monster one of the longest-running mysteries in the world of cryptozoology. In 1864, in the middle of the chaos of the American Civil War, 6 soldiers near Vicksburg reported an extraordinary encounter. They claimed to have shot down an unidentified bird or creature. The animal captured in their photograph closely resembled a pteranodon, a massive flying reptile that once soared over North America back in the Cretaceous period. The Solway Firth Spaceman, photographed in 1964 during a family outing by Jim Templeton, remains one of the most puzzling images of modern times. While photographing his daughter in a field near the Solway Firth, Templeton unknowingly captured a strange figure standing in the background, one that resembled a spaceman. The figure, dressed in white with what looked like a helmet, set off a wave of speculation. Templeton insisted no one else had been there at the time. Investigations carried out by Kodak and the police turned up no evidence of tampering. Experts later floated the idea that the figure might actually have been Templeton's wife, accidentally caught in the frame wearing an overexposed blue dress. Even with these explanations on the table, the photograph has become iconic, keeping alive theories about aliens, time travelers, and other unexplained phenomena. The Black Knight satellite is a puzzling object that some claim has been circling Earth and transmitting signals since the 1950s. Certain theories go even further, suggesting it's more than 13,000 years old and originated with a long-lost alien civilization. The story traces back to 1899, when reports first surfaced describing strange signals coming from space. Nikola Tesla claimed that same year to have picked up similar signals of extraterrestrial origin. Then, in 1954, astronomers in Peru and researchers at the Grumman Aircraft Corporation detected unusual, repeating signals. Despite all these curious episodes, mainstream science has never confirmed that the satellite actually exists. Even so, the Black Knight continues to stir curiosity and speculation about where it might have come from and what it's meant to do. A photograph taken in 1911 over Huntington, West Virginia, remains one of aviation history's more baffling mysteries. It shows a massive airship hovering above the city, its design remarkably advanced for something supposedly built in the early 20th century. With a sleek, streamlined shape, several propellers, and enough room to carry passengers, the craft looks nothing like the crude airships and small balloons typical of that era. It also predates the first Zeppelin-style airships by several years, which only adds to how strange the whole thing seems. In 1987, a woman known only as MS stopped by an airfield in England and took a photograph of herself sitting in a plane's cockpit, meant as a simple keepsake. When the film was developed, though, it showed a man sitting right next to her in the pilot's seat, someone who looked like a World War II-era pilot, dressed in a vintage jacket and cap. MS was adamant that no one else had been there at the time. Paranormal researchers suggested the figure might be the spirit of a pilot who had died during the war and never left the cockpit behind. During the 1920s, a photograph surfaced that startled many people because it appeared to show a man floating in midair. The picture captures Colin Evans, a spiritualist medium known for holding seances in darkened rooms lit only by the flash of a camera. In the photograph, Evans appears suspended above the ground while stunned onlookers watch in disbelief. In the mid-1990s, after this woman had settled into a nursing home, her family took a photograph of her. When the picture came back developed, something unexpected showed up in the background: the faint outline of a man. Looking closer, the elderly woman insisted it was her late husband, who had died 13 years earlier. Her family was certain that no one else had been in the room at the time the photograph was taken. Hampton Court Palace, long known for its eerie reputation, drew fresh attention in 2003 when security cameras recorded an unexplained ghostly figure walking through one of its corridors. It marked the first time photographic evidence of the palace's supposed hauntings had actually been documented. The technician who reviewed the footage confirmed it was authentic and ruled out any signs of tampering. Some skeptics propose it could be a glitch in the recording or a trick of reflected light, but the figure's lifelike movement and partially formed shape make those explanations harder to accept. Built in 1529 under King Henry VIII, Hampton Court has carried a long-standing reputation for ghostly sightings, and this footage only added to that legacy. A collection of vintage photographs from early 20th century Russia shows something strange: a young girl who turns up in every single image, despite the pictures being taken in different places, from different angles and at different distances. Her clothing, her hat, and her solemn expression stay exactly the same in each photo. She never seems to interact with anyone else in these pictures, which suggests she wasn't actually part of the scenes being photographed. Some believe she might be a ghost that somehow ended up captured on film. This unsettling presence has led to a range of supernatural theories about who she was and where she came from, adding to the mystery surrounding these images. The Fresno nightcrawlers rank among the strangest cryptids reported so far. They first turned up in surveillance footage recorded in Fresno, California in 2005, appearing as a pair of short, pale legs walking across a lawn with no visible torso or arms attached. A similar sighting was later caught on camera in Yosemite National Park. The odd shape and movement have inspired theories ranging from digital manipulation to extraterrestrial visitors, local folklore, or some kind of undiscovered organism. Skepticism hasn't stopped the footage from captivating mystery enthusiasts, and speculation about these strange figures continues. During the Apollo 17 mission in 1972, astronaut Eugene Cernan took a NASA photograph that ended up fascinating a lot of people. The image appeared to show pyramid-shaped formations sitting on the surface of the moon. Some believe these shapes could be remnants of ancient alien structures, while others think they're simply hills casting unusual shadows. NASA has never issued an official statement about the formations, leaving the question unresolved. Without higher resolution images or further study, the debate keeps going, and the photograph keeps people wondering whether the shapes point to something extraterrestrial or are just an odd quirk of the moon's landscape. The disappearance of the lighthouse keepers on Eileen Moor in 1900 stands as one of the greatest unsolved mysteries in maritime history. Three keepers, James Dupat, Thomas Marshall, and Donald MacArthur, vanished without a trace from the remote Flannan Isles. In 1959, Mabel Chinnery visited her late mother's grave at a cemetery. While there, she took a photograph of her husband sitting in the front seat of their car. When the photo was developed, though, a startling detail appeared: a figure clearly visible sitting in the back seat. Chinnery believed it was the spirit of her deceased mother. A photography expert who later examined the picture confirmed that it hadn't been altered or produced through a double exposure. The identity of the eerie figure was never resolved. In 2010, an unusual photograph from 1941 came to light, showing a crowd gathered for the reopening of the South Fork Bridge in Goldbridge, British Columbia. One man in the crowd stood out enough to earn the nickname the time-traveling hipster. He was dressed in what looked like modern clothing, a shirt with a logo, a hoodie, and sunglasses, and he appeared to be holding what looked like a modern camera, all of which seemed strangely out of place for a scene from 1941. Experts point out that similar clothing and cameras could have existed during that era, but the man's overall look still creates an odd contrast with everything around him. The mystery has fueled debate over whether he was somehow a time traveler, an early trendsetter ahead of his time, or just a trick of the eye. Either way, the time-traveling hipster keeps fascinating and puzzling people. A few old paintings and photographs seem to show objects that look surprisingly similar to modern technology. In one painting, a couple standing beside a river appears to be passing between them a dark, rectangular object with rounded corners, looking almost like an old-fashioned smartphone. In another photograph, a Native American man is shown holding an object that resembles a smartphone, possibly being used to check a map. These objects could easily be something else entirely, but theorists interested in time travel suggest they might be artifacts that somehow slipped in from a different era. Speculative as the idea is, these images keep drawing attention from people fascinated by time travel and theories involving extraterrestrial visitors. In 1889, workers drilling a well in Nampa, Idaho, pulled up a small clay figurine from a depth of 320 feet. Now known as the Nampa figurine, it depicts a female form and looks clearly man-made. Because it turned up in rock layers dated to roughly 2 million years old, its discovery challenges the conventional timeline of human history, since humans weren't thought to have existed that far back. Some see it as possible evidence of an ancient civilization, while others think it's a more recent object that ended up displaced by natural geological processes over time. The Nampa figurine remains an intriguing and unsettled question within archaeology. A mysterious photograph from Chile shows two men on horseback riding through a forest, with a small creature featuring an oversized head appearing to stand just beneath them. Some who have studied the image believe the figure could be an extraterrestrial being, while skeptics suggest it might simply be a toddler crossing the path at the wrong moment, creating the illusion that it's positioned under the horses. Because the photo is blurry and grainy, it's hard to say for certain what's actually being shown, which keeps the debate going over whether it depicts something alien or is just a trick of perspective. The mystery continues to intrigue and challenge anyone trying to explain it. The painting, known as the Madonna with St. John the Baptist as a child, created by Domenico Ghirlandaio in the 15th century, contains an unusual detail that has sparked ongoing debate. While the main focus of the painting is the Virgin Mary and the infant St. John the Baptist, just over her left shoulder, there's a glowing object floating in the sky, one that a man and his dog appear to be looking up at. Some see the shape and glow of the object as suggestive of a UFO, which raises questions about the possibility of extraterrestrial life. Experts, on the other hand, tend to interpret it as a religious symbol, perhaps an angel or the Star of Bethlehem, imagery that was common in devotional art from that period. What the object actually represents has never been settled, keeping the painting a subject of continued speculation. In 2008, archaeologists working in Shaanxi County, China, opened a sealed tomb that had remained undisturbed for more than 400 years. Inside the coffin, they came across something startling, a small object resembling a wristwatch, its hands frozen at 10:06. Strangely enough, the word Swiss was engraved on its back. Was this some kind of elaborate marketing stunt? Or could it be accidental proof of a time traveler's mistake?